Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you, not live from my closet. Hi guys. It's I'm a little I don't know why there's always something that happens right before I hit record and then I get like flustered and irritated. So I'm gonna try and I feel like if I just air it, does anybody else have that? Like if I'm nervous, if I just say I'm nervous, it goes away. I opened for this guy a couple of years ago who yelled at me for saying that. He didn't yell, but he was like mad. He's like, just so you know, don't do that. Like it was my first, like, no, it wasn't my first 30 minutes, but it was one of my first features on the road. And I mean, it's a long story that's like not even worth getting into because he just went off on his own for some other stuff. I'm being really vague just because like it's not worth the situation with that guy is not worth even putting on my podcast. But I so I was like talking to the guy of the casino, the booker of the casino, and we were just like we had like a cute little rapport going. And so I was just like, oh, I'm really nervous. This is one, I'm always nervous. I like and he was like, oh, you'll do great, whatever. And then the headliner was like, don't do that. You look really unprofessional if you tell people you're nervous. You shouldn't be nervous. And I'm like, I know two massive headliners that are nervous every time, every single time they're nervous. And I know yeah, they like, and I'll say one of them, I booked him. He's an old, I would say old acquaintance. Like if we see each other, we hug and say hi or whatever, but now he's like super famous. So I don't want to be like, he's an old friend. And like, I don't want to ever be that person. Right. But Theo Vaughn, I've known Theo for, like 15, 20 years almost. Like when I was at his very first ever show and we became friends afterwards. And he's been, he's done some of my shows over the years and he's blown up and he's so nice. And he did a show, some like bar show I ran, I don't know, like 5 years ago or something like that. And right before he was just like sitting in the back and he was like, he told me he was nervous. And I was like, really? Like, you're Theo Vaughn. You're like one of the funniest people on the fucking planet. And he's like, I'm always nervous. That's how you know you care, right? I don't know if he said quote that, but it was some like paraphrasing. And then another headliner, she's blowing up right now. Laura Bates. I don't know her that well, but if we see each other, we say hi. I've been hearing stories lately of like comics like name dropping people when they start to like, they're like, oh, I know that person is one of my dear friends. And then you ask that person, like, I don't know who the fuck that is at all, right? That's like, look, I ran a really popular workout room / open mic for like 3 years. There are hundreds of people that are like Kim, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. But and also the bar world too. I worked at a really popular bar in Hollywood, and I was like the staple bartender there for a long time. So like, I know a lot. Like I think I've talked about this before. A guy was like introduced me, an old customer introduced me to his friends as one of his best friends, Kim. And I was like, I think your name is Jason. I think. But the point of that, is these two like, so Laura Bites, I did some show with her a while ago and she was really nervous backstage. And it was like a weird, not important show at all. And she's like, oh, I'm always nervous. And so like I told this guy that, and the headliner got really mad at me because it was like unprofessional. And it was like, it just means I give a fuck. And I'm not like, I wasn't like sweating and crying and pounding tequila or anything crazy. I was just like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Literally, that's it. And the headliner, we also had a history, and he, at this moment in time, really hated me. So like, I know that was kind of personal more than anything, but like, I find if I just say like, hey, I'm really irritated, and I'm less irritated now. It's not a real problem. It's one of my birthday presents. It's my birthday. Not today. In a couple of days, it's my birthday. And it's such an odd time. I'm going to talk about that. But one of my birthday presents, which is so exciting, I guess came today, and it's not here. And so I'm like my cousin is. It's from my cousin. My one of my favorite people on the planet. And I feel bad, but I'm like trying to record, and I also am still like finishing up this book thing. I'll tell you guys all about that. Oh my God, I'm a fucking stress stress mess. I don't know. But what is it? You know how it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. I read something yesterday that it can also be stressed, depressed, and lemon zest. Yeah, I'll never say that again. I'm really sorry. I thought it was really cute, and then saying it out loud on a public thing, I'm horrified. Not horrified enough to like rewind it and redo it. I don't care that much, um but I guess like it's so funny. So I have a gate that comes into my apartment, and it's a telephone, and you pick up the telephone. And mind you, this happened way before COVID. So it's not like a COVID thing where people are freaked out about the phone. People are just truly stupid. Um, so I have a gate, like I have a phone on my gate, and it has the instructions written there. It's like press pound, then press the number, right? And it's not like press pound, really, really like not press pound. It's like step 2, then press the number. So to me, that's like wait a second before don't whatever. It's like 75% of the people get it, but then the 25 are truly some of the dumbest people I've ever talked to. And it's so hard. I ordered a stuffed crust pepperoni pizza from Pizza Hut like 3 weeks ago, and I don't order it very often. It's my favorite food. It's so good. It's so bad for you, and it makes me every time I eat it, I feel like I drank a bottle of tequila. That's how much I love it, but that's how little I can eat it, right? And so like it's like you never want to be mean to that woman, but like Jesus Christ, and they're so rude about it too. Like it's not like it's like they call up or they call my cell phone and they're like the gate's not working, and they don't even like the gate's not working. You're like, well, actually, no, it's not working. And you're like, well, the word, and then you're like, will you let me finish my sentence, please? And then they're like, oh, okay. And then you go pick up the phone. A shocking number of people go, oh, what the fuck do you think that phone is there for? And this is pre-COVID, by the way. Pre-COVID. Like, what do you think the phone's there for? It's horrible. It's terrifying to me because, like, I'm not very smart. I'm not putting myself down. I know I'm a smart person, but I mean, like, in this scheme of what knowledge you can know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm learning a second language. I don't know a second language. So, like, in the scheme of what you can know in the world, I'm not that smart. But the more I'm in the world, the more I'm like, I'm one of the smarter people. And that's horrifying. I just kissed my microphone again. Again. So a shocking number of people don't even pick up the phone to call the gate. They're like, oh, and I'm like, well, what do you think the gate's that phone's there for? But then they're like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, well, you hit pound. I hit pound. And you're like, let me finish the fucking sentence. And you don't want to say that, but you get so flustered. And this woman was so rude. This Pizza Hut woman was so rude, just kept interrupting. She's like, I did that. I did that. And I'm like, well, you're not letting me finish. And finally I was like, I'll just come down. Like I don't like, I don't know. I know, and it's not that big of a deal to go down there, but it's like every time you go down there, there's always something weird. Like the guy won't get out of his car, so he hasn't even gone to the gate. And he's like in the car trying to get you to come over. It's just like come inside. That's the job. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people, I don't know, I feel a little weird because it's privilegey. I know, and a lot of people don't tip delivery drivers very well, but I do. So like like it's like that weird sticky situation where it's like I get it, like you could go through all of this, but by the way, the Pizza Hut, they see what I tip before. I always tip. Oh, I tip like 25-30%, which I hope is good. I don't know. I'm coming from the service industry background. I'm terrified of being the person that doesn't tip very well. So I always tip more than I think I should. Just terrified because, and typically the person who doesn't tip very well doesn't know they don't tip very well. That's what's even more horrifying. So she's kind of an asshole, right? Like she's kind of an asshole. Like no, she's 100% an asshole. This is the Pizza Hut lady, 100% an asshole. And I was just like, fine, I'll just come down there. So I come down there and I come around the corner and she's so nice, but I'm like, she's like, hi, I'm so sorry. And I was like, that's okay. She's like, yeah, the gate didn't work. And I was just like, yeah, I was trying to help you. I don't know why you were so mean about it. And then she was like, oh, and I'm like, it's fine. Just like, she like yelled at me on the phone. It's like, you're not even letting me talk, lady. And so the gate, I don't know if anybody else ever deals with this gate situation. I haven't had a gate. I've lived in this apartment for like 11 years, but prior to this, I didn't really ever, I like the gates we did have either didn't work or we just never used them. The 2 apartments I had where you had to be buzzed in, one, we just didn't use it. And then the other one, like we had a code. So we just give people the code. And the other one was like way before Amazon and delivery where you weren't really getting like Uber, like, Uber Eats and shit. So I don't know if everybody else deals with this, but so package came today. and I wasn't home. And so my cousin calls me and she's like, "Hey, they're at the gate." And I was like, "Okay, tell them to pick up the phone, hit pound." And I sound like if like it sounds like I'm being a dick, like being like, pick up the phone. But again, a shocking number of people don't pick up the phone. And then they're like, "Oh, I have to pick it up." And I'm like, "Yeah, you do." And that, by the way, that was pre-COVID. I get like, I know the germy stuff, but I don't know, man. It's kind of part of the job. It sucks. I had to touch a lot of gross money and a lot of gross glasses when I was a bartender. People are disgusting. Just wash your hands a lot, I suppose. I don't fucking know, man. But so I was like, so pick up the phone, hit, and I'm imagining my cousin didn't tell him specifically this because she probably was thinking, like, yeah, why wouldn't they pick up the phone? So maybe you didn't even hear any of this, but it was like, I wrote the thing. And then I like was not, I was like driving. So I'm like, I can't really like text. I can call real quick, but I'm like driving. So I can't, whatever. And I was just like, I have my phone on not silent. So I'll understand. Like, this is way too long of a story. I'm just really flustered. And so they never call. And I get home and I just assume, like, sometimes, like, people are coming and going all the time. They just let delivery people in. Sometimes they'll call a different gate, or like 1,000 things could have happened, right? Sometimes they just chuck it over the fence, which is super obnoxious. It's it's obnoxious if it's breakable, one, or two, they don't even bother calling the gate or your cell phone and they just throw it over the fence. And it's like, well, you don't know, whatever. It's so obnoxious. But these are like not real problems. You know what I mean? Like, but let me just say, like, I'm allowed to be annoyed, but also understand that this is a privileged thing to be annoyed about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that people are like, you shouldn't be feeling that because that's, like, it's just like, well, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but like, we're like, I'm not going to bury my feelings because I understand this isn't a real problem. And now I'm less annoyed now that I've started to talk about it. And that, by the way, is what I think everyone should do. Um, it's weird. I'm letting my microphone do the work on whether or not I if it's loud, and I know I yell a lot, but it just doesn't sound super loud to me. But then I'm like, just trust it. Just trust it. I did a sound check. It'll be fine, but it looks so quiet. So I don't know. I get home and I just assume somebody let them in or whatever. And I go to my mailbox, nothing's at the mailbox. Then I go to and then sometimes they just take it all the way up to your apartment, and then there's nothing at my apartment. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess and then usually they'll just leave and come back tomorrow, right? But it's weird. They didn't call me. I don't know. So I text my cousin and she's like, what? They said they delivered it. So like, try apartment one. And I'm like, so I go down and I try apartment one. It's also like hell hot outside. And you guys know how I am about hell hot. So I go down and it's not down there. And I don't know. She's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't know. Those are the places it could be. I think this sometimes I don't know. I've had friends who've had Uber Eat drivers, like DoorDash, just like say they don't have that they delivered the food, or they like something like that, and then they like eat the food. I don't fucking know, man. All I know is it's my birthday week, and that was too long of a story for this. And I hope you guys are like, yeah, I get annoyed by dumb shit too. Um, I just went and got my nails done, and there's like three things that happened there. One, I didn't wear a mask because California went maskless yesterday. It's so crazy. I was talking to my she's my waxer, my nail lady, and I've been going to her for like, I don't know. Today she was like, I think you've been coming here for like 15 fucking years. That's wild. Um, and and she was like, she goes, the rules are just so hard. It's hard to, and like, it's hard to do anything. Cause I'm like, I feel so weird without a mask on. And then I asked her, I was like, how do you feel about us? Would you rather me wear my mask in here? And she's like, as long as you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear your mask. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm vaccinated. And I'm like, well, are you allowed to add? And she goes, they're not allowed to ask people if they're vaccinated. They're not allowed to know for sure. So it's just, like, and I don't know. I'm at the point right now that it's like, if you're not going to get vaccinated and you've been like, the people who won't get vaccinated are the same people for the most part who've been dicks about the masks the whole time. So it's just like, fine, get the virus. Like, it's like the people that want to, like, it sucks because it's like kids, you know what I mean? But the most, like, the elderly it's just got the vaccine. It's just really fucking frustrating. But it was so weird sitting there with no mask on. It was like, I was like, I feel naked and pretty. I know that sounds really like, I don't know, shallow, I guess. Shallow, la, 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 low, low. Feels like a little like shallow, right? But like, I don't know. I just felt like very like, if it was like, oh, look at me. Um, I know I've heard a bunch of instances where it's kind of bring your mask because it's like some places are going to just be like straight across the board wear your mask. And then other places, I don't know, a guy I was listening to this morning said that he went to like 4 places yesterday and half were wearing a mask, half weren't. That's also another thing that like PSA, like if you don't want to wear a mask and you see someone else wearing a mask, who gives a fuck? Like I just like there's people are like why like he like the guy on the radio this morning he's like well of course it was Whole Foods so it was a bunch of fucking hippies wearing their fucking masks. And it was like, you don't know why they're wearing a mask. You don't know why. They could be they could have children that they're trying to protect themselves so they don't get it. Because, like, from my understanding, the virus, you can still get it and you can still carry it and pass it along. You just won't, like, it's still such a finicky thing. But it's just like if someone's wearing a mask and you're like, why are they wearing a mask? Who cares? My friend went to a Foo Fighter concert last night and from my understanding, they were like vaccinated only people are coming in because they were like, it's indoors, no masks, have a good time, right? And so from my understanding, they basically were just like, if you're not vaccinated, you can't come to Foo Fighter concert, which I'm like, cool. I hope they do that everywhere. I hope they pass a thing. And like, yes, I know that goes against a little bit of like the whole, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think they should pass a thing that's like businesses should be able to ask if you're vaccinated to see a vaccination card. This is a thing that took out millions of people all over the world. It's still not over. A lot of countries are still fucking struggling. And like and people are like it's a violation of my privacy. Like I don't know. And I might get flack for saying that, but they basically were like I believe that like I think the Improv and Flappers, I think in comedy clubs here in LA, I believe they're asking for proof of vaccination before entering the building. And that just protects everybody. It protects their performers. It protect you know what I like it's just but so my friend sent us a text in this group chat I'm in, and there were people outside protesting Foo Fighters, saying that Foo Fighters was bringing back segregation. I'm gonna let that roll around in your head for a minute. Segregation. Of course, these are all white people, all standing out there with masks on. Now they'll wear masks, these fucking assholes, and it's like, and they're out there, and it's just like, crack a book. Do you have any idea what segregation was like in this country? Like what? Like I understand the word, but like bringing back do you have any idea what that was like? Like it was not anti like oh it's so disgusting, but then they let the people in the venue early so they got to hang out and drink and have fun early. Like fuck those anti-vaxxers. I stand by it. I will. I know I lost a lot of listeners mid pandemic because I got a little political, but honestly, like I will stand by this forever, and I say it probably every episode, almost every day too. When I talk to people, where I'm like, I don't know, I just feel like if and this has happened to me before, where I'm like, I feel this way, and then I look around me, and all the people that feel the same way are literal Nazis. Literal Nazis agree with you. Crack a book. There might be something you're missing, but if I'm losing listeners over stuff like that, I fucking stand by it, man. But so I'm not wearing a mask. Back into there was like a weird people pleaser milestone that happened today. There's a couple people pleaser milestones that have happened for me this week, which is really cool because I'm about to celebrate the last year of my 30s. And I'm on a couple of Facebook groups, and the Facebook groups are like I'm in hundreds of Facebook groups. I don't even know how to like keep track of them or how to get out of them or if I care to get out of them. You know what I mean? Like just whatever. But I what am I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of them talk about like women will turn a certain age and then they are like there was a thread that I was reading the other day where a woman was turning 40 or 38 or something, like her late 30s, early 40s. And she's like, birthdays just bring about all this shame and regret and like all this like hypercritical shit looking at my life and how I'm a failure. And I was reading through the comments and it's really common. Like I'm not and I've been there before, right? Like I've been there many birthdays. where you look at it and you're just like, oh, I remember my 30th birthday. A week before my 30th birthday, my boyfriend broke up with me. The bar I was working at shut down. And though all of this was like temporary, like the bar shutting down anyway, I was like, and it wasn't 30, it was like a week before my 31st birthday. And I was like, man, I'm unemployed and I don't have a boyfriend. I just started comedy, so I hadn't really like ventured out into exactly what I wanted to do with my comedy career, but it was just like, I don't have that many credits. You know, I still bartend, all this stuff. And I felt so sad. Now, look, the boyfriend and I got back together like 2 days later, and that bar reopened. And like, and it's just, and that's one of the last birthdays I remember feeling that like failure, like what am I doing with my life kind of thing. And I don't know, it makes me so sad that many people, it makes me really sad that people think today is one of my best friend from high school's birthday, elementary high school, and she was like, she's 40, and she's kidding, but there is this weird like I'm so old now or whatever, and it's just like we're not at all. Yeah, we're not 20, we're not babies, but we're not old. Like I don't know. I it makes me I spent some of my youth wasting time regretting and looking at things I didn't do, or things that like I wish I had done at a certain point, or that I'm not married, or I don't have kids. And those are two things that I'm still like, some days I'm like, yeah, I want to do those things. And other days I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. You know, like it's like it's just and I know I understand that I am like finicky about that or fickle about that decision, and not everybody is, but like I spent some of my my late 20s like regretting stuff and like feeling like a failure, feeling old. I spent the last like 3 years of my 20s calling myself 30. And my godmother said to me, she was like, God, you're gonna really regret not saying you were 20 as long as you could. No, I don't, but I understand what she was trying to say, where it's just like we waste our youth calling ourselves old. We waste our youth regretting shit. We waste our youth looking back. And like that's I don't know. I've never been 90 before, but I feel like that's what being 90 is about. You know what I mean? Looking back on your life and being like, man, I wish I would have done that. But I don't think most old people I know don't look back and like really, really regret shit that they never did. You know, like or they, yeah, they regret shit they never did, but they never, but like, I don't know if I'm articulating this correctly. And yeah, I think I am. I just don't want to spend my youth wasting it away thinking about shit I wish I would have done when I was 20. I read this Stephen King quote, and I'm going to like paraphrase it, but it was just like the reason why we aren't given the power to go back in time is because people and change shit is because people would waste their lives changing things that happened in high school. And like if you think about it, that's kind of, like, so it's just I don't know. I'm sitting here on the eve of my birthday. I have a couple days before I turn 39. And yeah, I guess like maybe I do have a big thing happening this week. I have accomplished a lot, and this last year I've done a lot of things that I really wanted to do in my life, and I'm starting to become the woman I kind of always imagined I would be, and so, but like that came with a lot of hard work and a lot like a hard decision of like, I am going to fucking boss up and change your life. What's that song? The Lizzo song? Boss up and change your I can't sing, guys. Sometimes I can. Some songs I can really belt it out, and people are like, whoa, I thought you said you couldn't sing. And then other songs like this Lizzo song, I can't. I'm like, boss up and change your life. Yeah, I can't. Whatever. Maybe that wasn't bad. Whatever, it's fine. Everybody's okay. I get so nervous about singing. But like maybe like, and last birthday was fine. Well, no, oh, I never went to the people pleasing thing about the nail. We'll put a pin in that. But last birthday was fine. It wasn't, but it was like the birthday, it was spent. I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I wanted last year, but I didn't do because I had some people in my life who that wasn't acceptable to them, how I celebrated my birthday. Last year, it was like mid pandemic, but it was like where things were open. It was June, obviously. So it was like restaurants were open. It wasn't like the numbers were dropping and the summer numbers were. So it was like safe to have like 10 people over outside at a pool situation, right? And all I wanted to do, I was like, I'm going to have a Zoom later that night if people want to pop in and out. And all I want to do is just lay by my pool, drink champagne, eat donuts, and have, people I have fun with or love, like a small gathering of people who feel comfortable, come over and just join that. If they want to bring more food, if they want to bring more drinks, like I'll have, like 40 White Claws and my champagne. And if they want to bring more, cool. If not, cool too. We just lay by the pool. And I had, oh no. Oh God, I thought nothing happened. Uh, I'm embarrassed to even say what it was. Nothing happened. It, like something fell on my something brown fell on my nail, and I thought it was a smudge on my new nails. And now I'm concerned as to what was brown that fell on my nail. It came right off. I thought maybe I gross. I didn't need to share that, but I had um a couple of people in my life. One woman was like, "People are going to expect a barbecue. People are going to expect." Fuck, don't give me any. Ooh. I have to stay away from the internet today. My show that I have been watching for 2 months that I'm very excited about. I was just like, do not tell me anything, nothing. And friend who I love who listens just was like, it gave me chills. And I'm like, I don't even want to know that. I want to know anything. I don't want to know anything. And I will turn my phone off until I can watch this goddamn show. But I have a lot to do and I won't be able to watch it until later. But I think maybe I'll just watch it tonight. I'm all over the map. But I had a friend in my life who's not in my life anymore. Wish her well. Not my friend though, or not my dear friend. She won't be there on Friday, but she's like, people are expected to eat. They're going to come over and they're going to expect you to feed them. And I'm like, well, it's at like 2:00. Eat lunch. You know what I mean? Now I'm different. Now I'm like, if you want to bring food, bring food. If we all get hungry, we can fucking order a pizza. Like, I don't want to plan a fucking party. But and I'm not being victimy, by the way. There's no victim here. Like, I understand that I didn't have the boundaries or the non-people pleaser stuff at the time to say, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm like, you're like, now I would be like, you're not listening to what I want to do. This is what I want to do. You're not listening. You want to do that. So that's why you're saying this is what people expect. So it ended up being this like crazy big ordeal that was such a big cleanup. It was so uncomfortable. And then a guy that I'm not really friends with anymore either shows up. We weren't really friendly then, but he like called me and was like, "Oh, it's your birthday. Are you doing anything? Like, we should celebrate." So then I was uncomfortable. So this is all just people pleaser shit, right? I wouldn't invite him now. It'd be weird if he called me and asked me for an invite now. But I was just like, yeah, you should come. And then he came literally empty handed. Literally. Have you ever I will never go anywhere without something in my hand, like a party, a get together. It's just, everything you need to know about a person if they show up empty handed to a get together or a party. Like everything you need to know. Like, even like, I don't know. I had this. I did this like awesome. I went on. I had dinner with some women on my friend's roof the other night. It was like four of us women, and she was like, "Don't bring anything. I'm cooking. I got plenty of food. I got plenty of whatever. Don't worry about it. Like, just come. I just want to." And it was great. It's awesome to have women in your life that just are building empires, aren't shitting on people, and just like want to support everyone. And I'm to the point now where I have that. I am weeding out people who are still kind of there that don't have that, but I like, for the most part, my circle is just people who just like, we root for each other and we don't waste time worrying about what other people are fucking doing, right? And so what am I saying? I'm all over the place and my phone is starting to blow up, guys. I have so much anxiety. I have so much anxiety. I just want to turn my phone off and hide. Anybody ever feel that way? I like looked at my phone a couple of weeks ago and there was 150 messages. And I literally was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with that. I just put my phone down for 2 days. I was like, if it's important, I guess I'm not going to get it. Cause I know, like, I have anxiety, but so like he shows up with literally nothing. You could buy a bag of chips, nothing. And then starts complaining about the type of food that's there. And I like look at him and he's like, I get it. I didn't bring anything. So I guess I don't have a right to complain. Like, it's the level of audacity someone has to show up to something like that with nothing in hand and just eat everything and then complain. That's why this person's not a big part of my life anymore. But like, it was just like an uncomfortable day that wasn't relaxing. And then finally, a dear friend of mine, Sarah, showed up with a bottle of vodka, and then she and I had a blast. And I just got drunk. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get drunk because like it was just such an uncomfortable day. And then the cleanup was a nightmare. And then I don't know. So this year I am doing what I want to do. My book hopefully will be, I'll get to that. It will be on its way to being published or pre-sale, I hope. Um, I'm hoping all that. And like Jesus, I'm so distracted. I'm hoping all that, but all I want to do is I'm gonna make myself a big pretty breakfast, and then I'm gonna go get some fun donuts. And my buddy Whitney's gonna come over with a red bucket and ice, and we're just gonna put drinks in there, and I'm gonna sit by the pool and sip champagne and eat donuts. And I'm inviting like 10 people over, and they can eat donuts. They can bring other food. They cannot. I'll probably have chips too. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I just like eat. It's 2 o'clock. And if we want to eat more at like 5, we'll order a fucking pizza. And maybe that's asshole. I have my old friend's voice in my head where she's like, people are expecting to eat. Well, eat beforehand. You know what? Like I don't know. I don't want to host a party, but I also don't want to go to a bar and have that mess either. I just want to relax by the pool and have people I love around me. And that's what I'm gonna fucking do. So my book. Oh, let's go back to the other people pleasing thing. So this year, those 2 people are not invited at all. They're not really in my life either, so I don't. I imagine they don't assume they're invited, or they're. I don't even think I'll hear from them on my birthday. Um, but and then so the nail salon. So I've been going to this lady for like 15 years. This is like such a weird milestone, and it's so small, I guess. But it's like it's it was a big milestone and it paid off in spades. So I've been going to this place for a really long time, and I there's over the years there's been like one nail person that I really didn't care to do my nails, and it was like a dude, and it was just because he just took a really long time, and he was just really nervous, and he messed up a lot, and it just took forever. So it was just like I kind of don't want that dude, but I never really said anything because it was just like it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But this last like 6 months or so, there's an older woman that's there, and she's terrible. I mean, like she, if she does my, these are, again, I know these, no one thinks that I'm saying real problem. Like you guys know that I'm not like, this is a real problem, but you pay for a service, you want it done nice, right? And whether she does my nails or my feet, it looks like a child did them. And I'm like, and for the last 6 months, I'm just like, oh, and every time I go in there, I'm so anxious, and I'm just like watching her, like praying that they don't send her to me. And they always send her to me. And I'm like, fuck. And I know laws of attraction. I just think about that woman not coming to me. So of course she comes to me. And last time it was just so bad. Like my nails, like my toenails looked like a literal child did them. And I was like, I have to say something. Like, and especially like with COVID, like the prices raised. So, and which I understand, but it's just like you're paying for a service and you leave every time just really upset. And like that's when it's on me, right? Like it's like no one's fault. But I don't want to be because the woman's also so nice and she's really old. And I'm just like, oh man, I feel so bad. I don't want to be a dick. But I'm like, this week, like it's my birthday week, it's my book week. I'm gonna pick matching. And I did, if you're watching on the video, you're not gonna see this for 8 months because I keep forgetting to the YouTube thing is so fucking time consuming, but it's just every week it's just getting more and more time consuming. I will. I also have Patreon episodes up too. There's 2 bonus episodes, and I'll also record some other bonus stuff about book stuff. So if you want to join my Patreon, and I'm also going to add another tier if you just want to support. So I'm going to add some stuff. Probably not today or tomorrow, but sometime this weekend I will. That's all on my website, kimkral.com, or you can go to patreon.com/kimkral. But so I was just like, all right, I'm gonna say something. So Stacy is waxing my vagina, right? And this woman has been around my vagina forever. And so we're real close, and not like we're not besties, but like we know each other well enough. I mean, we don't know we're not best friends, oh, no one's okay. So I'm like being like, okay, say something. Don't say something. Like, you know what I mean? We're all like, especially if you're a big people pleaser, like it's like the equivalent of like you didn't order lettuce on your burger and now it's like soggy all over everything and you are like mayonnaise and it's all over everything, but you're just like, I'll just scrape it off. It's not a big deal. But it's like you're paying for the burger. They should have not put mayonnaise on it, right? But it's if you're a people pleaser, you understand that you're just like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just eat the mayonnaise, you know. But I'm trying not to do that because, like, and I mean, as long as you're kind, as long as you're not like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? As long as you're kind, you're allowed to ask for what you're paying for. So I was like, Stacey, after she was done, I didn't want to do it when I was naked and vulnerable. I was like, because I already was feeling vulnerable, and I was like, Stacey, I'm really nervous to say this, but I was like, you know, the older woman, and she goes, yeah. I was like, I don't want her to do my nails anymore. And I'm so sorry. She's so nice. And Stacy goes, I get it. You are not the only one. In fact, most women don't want her. And she said the only reason why she don't fire her is because she's really nice. And the dudes don't mind her. The dudes really like her because she does give nice massages. And dudes aren't like, you know, they don't get their for the most, you know, they don't get their nails painted the way all we do. Some dudes do. I don't know why I'm so nervous about saying the wrong thing now. You guys know that I'm like, paint your nails, wear a dress. I don't give a fuck. Whatever you guys want to do. Let's all just be happy and accept each other. But so then she was like, always tell me. And I was like, okay. And she goes, this is my business and my job. So I know how to not hurt her feelings, but also make you happy. So, like, you'll never have her again. And I was like, oh my God. And then not only that, but then she did my nails, which she did amazing. And then this other broad who's never done my toenails, we've seen each other for 10, 12, 15 years, however long I've been going. She's never done my nails, but because she's always so busy. She's always, and every time I hear on the phone, she's always requested and shit. So she asked the like main girl, not main girl, but like one of the better girls, I guess. I don't know, but it was always requested to do my toenails. And I have an ingrown, I have my right toenail is a mess. I don't know when it started, but it started like 10 years ago. I frequently get ingrown toenails in there. It fell off at one point. So it's like, you know, it's just lumpy. It's a lot of colors. And it hurts if it's not done. Like that's why I have to get pedicures so they can just rip that out. And then I don't get the ingrown toenail, but it's kind of an annoying thing and it's really painful. And it's every time they work on that particular toenail, it really hurts and I just get through it, but it's always worth it. Right. This bitch, she does it and there's no pain. I was like, did you get it? She goes, yeah, I had to get it. I hope that wasn't too painful. And I was like, you got the whole thing? And then she like touched it. And if you've ever had ingrown toenails, if you touch it, it hurts, right? And I was like, doesn't hurt at all. And she goes, yeah. I'm like, it literally didn't hurt. That's never happened. And she goes, I'm going to take care of you. And then she evened out my weird toenail that's like lumpy. And then Stacey goes, yeah, she can do your nails every time. And I don't know her name. She's never worked on me before. Worked on me. That's a weird way to put it. But her name's Wendy. And she was like, from here on out, forever, I will do your toenails. So it paid off in spades. And it also, as long as you're kind, man, and it's not like, I don't know, this woman came in and she needed to get her eyelashes done and she had an appointment. And yeah, I get it. They were running behind. And that's the other thing right now. It's like California may be 100. I've seen this a lot, but it's 100% true. California may be 100% open, but places aren't staffed to be 100% open. And if you're like, well, they should have known that because the 15th has been a hard date. It's like, yeah, but that shit's changed so much in the last year that it's like they can't hire a bunch of people, pay to train them, and then not be able to afford to keep them because you know what I like? It's just like it's opening back up, but places aren't completely staffed. Be cool, soda pop. Just fucking be cool. You know, like so this woman had an appointment and yeah, she had to wait like 30 minutes and that's kind of annoying, but they were doing the best they could. And her energy was just furious. Like this was going to ruin her day. And she was like staring at me like I was going to acknowledge that this was awful. And it's like, yeah, it's annoying. And I've been in this situation where I'm like, I need to get my nails done at this particular time. I can't believe I'm talking about this as much as I am, but I think there's good lessons in here. I not that you guys are calling me, listening to me for lessons, but this is where I always have the existential crisis in the middle of the podcast where I'm like, is this interesting? Are you guys having fun? Love me, accept me. Um, but her energy was so shitty. And she was just like looking at me like I would be like, yeah, they are awful. You know what? And I was just like, I don't know. And I just took a deep breath. And I'm a person who takes on energy very easily. And I'm learning how to protect that and not take on other people's energy when I don't have to. Like, I don't know this bitch. I don't have to take on her energy about her being like, I've been in a hurry there before, but I never get my nails done and all that stuff done if I don't have 2 hours because shit happens. And this woman's appointment was at 9 and she was like, I have to leave by 10. And it's like, well, I mean, that is an hour, but I think that's how long it takes your eyes to get done. So, like, that's like no wiggle room. I don't know. I just think, I don't know. But it was weird not to wear a mask and it was cool to not. So the book, this other people pleasing thing, that another people pleasing, so I have certain people, there's names in the book, right? And I'm changing the names. And but in all of my friends that are in the book, I've asked them, hey, do you want to be in the book? It just says this about you. There's nothing incriminating at all about you. But do you want to change your name? And every one of them is like, no, that's fine. And I'm more like, if you do, we can name you. Whatever you want to be named, we can name you. You know, what I thought that would be more fun, but no one seems to care of what their name is in the book, right? But my old roommates, I finished a chapter that I almost didn't make it into the book. If you don't know, I wrote a book. I wrote a book. Guys, I wrote a fucking book. I'm feeling a little bit less freaked out. Yesterday I was so freaked out about after all of this information that I literally didn't pick it up all day and just cleaned and cooked all day. And then was like, all right, if it doesn't come out on your birthday because you took this day to realign your energy, I think that's okay. Be nice to yourself, man. And so if you don't know, I wrote a book. It's called no. It's called Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. And elevator pitch to it. I'm trying to get better at it because I'm going to be on a lot of podcasts and shows coming up, and I'm going to reach out to a lot of podcasts. I'm so nervous. I'm just, you're just nervous about the no, and it's just like doing things that you're scared to do, and you just fucking do them, right? That's what my friend, I saw him the other night, and he goes, "I'm throwing a lot at you. I'm sorry." He goes, I was at this party and I was like, oh, I wrote this book. And he goes, holy shit, you wrote a book? And I was like, yeah. He goes, wow, most people talk about writing the book and then never do it. He goes, you didn't talk about writing this book and then you did it. And I've been talking about it the last month, but I've been writing it for over a year. But he's right. And he was just like, so I'm trying to work on my elevator pitch. I'm going to be on Bill Dawes's podcast today. Look out for that. Very excited. Funny comedian. I've never heard his podcast, but he's very funny and he's all over everything. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're recording at the Laugh Factory. I haven't been at the Laugh Factory in years. That's always like, that's like a scared place for my comedy where one day I will perform and it'll be like like a milestone for me, like the improv. So what am I saying? Oh, avoided it like elevator pitch. Jesus, sorry guys. I went to another planet in my brain for a minute. Some of the committee spoke up about things that is not important. By the committee, I mean the voices in my head. The voices in my head. So I the fuck am I saying? Oh, elevator pitch. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm like starting to panic about this shit now again. So Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. It's a memoir and I tell stories. It's based like on the surface, it's a bunch of funny, bizarre, fucked up dating stories. But on a deeper level, every story is about a girl who is just trying to find love, but in all of these really sad places and just all these wrong, unavailable people. And how it's like really this hole inside of her that she's trying to fill by, it's a lot like the podcast where I talk and where personal growth, and then where eventually she figures out that, it's self-love and that she's allowed to ask for needs and allowed to say no. And it's like a reflection of me now as a recovered person, a recovering person who has worked on a lot of my shit, my people pleasing, my being invisible, my picking unavailable people. And this is not the elevator pitch. I realize it's way too long, but it's going back and looking at that stuff, and then not only and like healing it and hoping that, and I hope that people who read it, I hope they get a lot of laughs, and I hope people who are struggling with some of the shit I struggled with can read these experiences and maybe get some help or maybe feel less alone. um it's it's like a cross between like Chelsea Handler's My Horizontal Life, that book Girl Wash Your Face, but for older people, not 19. Like it's like that book annoyed me. It was like for like 14, like it was for women, but it's like I have hair on my knuckles. Oh my God. You shouldn't care about that. And it's like any woman, adult woman who's like, yeah, we're humans, we're mammals, we have hair, we shave it, we wax it, or we don't, whatever, right? But it is like the like you go girl kind of thing. um Plus codependent no more. So it's like those three books all wrapped up into one, and I'm really really proud of it. But there is probably the biggest heartbreak of my life relationship wise. I talk about that if you ever want to hear about, if you want to hear the story. It's in the episode, Do You Save Your Old Love Letters? And I avoided that chapter like I owed it money, because I knew it was going to be really hard. It was going to be hard to give the connection and the love this person and I felt for each other justice, and then it was going to be hard to revisit the one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life, right? And so I I finished it. I did the chapter after my editor had the book. So this isn't it's an unedited version. It's an unedited chapter in the book. I mean, went through Grammarly. My other editor read it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I just was like, well, we'll see what happens, and it's just completely different. But like, like it was proofread. But it was so hard for me to write. And I talked about my roommates in there, because I lived with these two people at the time, and my buddy Ali, who I talk about all the time, who is like family to me. He's mentioned in there, but nothing like, he's literally mentioned there as like my roommate, right? And that he got his PhD. And I text him and I asked him if it's cool if he was his name. And he goes, yeah, as long as it has nothing to do with like, the shenanigans that like, because he has, career and family and stuff. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't even mention any of it. Like the only thing I mention is this. He's like, cool. So I sent it to our other roommate, and our other roommate, they aren't in each other's lives anymore. And I have a lot of love for this woman. She will probably always be in my life. But we're not as close. We haven't seen each other in a while, but she was a bully of mine. And I know that she had her own shit going on, but she was a bully of mine. Like she was a bully. She used to, and my other roommate always talks about it. He goes, yeah, the way she used to treat you, like, and I'm like, yeah, we don't see each other much anymore, because that's how she kind of treats everybody. And it's not news to her. I don't imagine. But yeah, we would be out when we were younger, and I was prettier, and that doesn't mean anything, but insecure women like to put down other women who they find, who they're, they feel threatened by. So we'd be out and we'd be talking to dudes, and she would say, quote things like, ha 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 ha, I'm like Tina Fey and she's like Jenna, like she's really dumb. And like my self-esteem was so low that it was just like, oh yeah, ha, ha, ha. And I just like would make some self-deprecating joke, but like she did that for years. She's a bully. And I have a lot of love for her, and we've been through a lot with each other, and like, we'll always be. But when I told her I wrote a book, she was like, congratulations on finishing a book. Like she just says condescending shit, and it's just like, okay. So I tell her, I say literally the same thing I send to Ali, and she was like, I need to read the chapter. And I was like, an old Kim, people pleaser Kim, would have sent that bitch my chapter. And you guys don't want to say that bitch. I don't mean that bitch, but that broad, the chapter, because I wouldn't want her to be mad at me. But that would have done a self-sabotaging move, because she is not a person incapable. She's incapable. She's a person who's incapable of not sending some sort of criticism back when someone accomplishes something, or saying something, well, I did this, like that's just in my experience with her every single time. And so sending her a chapter that took me a year to write, that almost didn't make it in the book because it was so painful to write, sending her that 3 days before I was going to hit publish, that would have been, I would have figured out a way not to put it in there, or redone the whole book or something. You know what I mean? Like I would have self-sabotaged. And instead I was like, hey, I'm not sending the book to anybody else. It's about to be published, so I won't be sending it to you, but that's totally cool. I'll just change your name. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. And she goes, well, I'll likely want to be mentioned. Like, please mention me. So I just need to read it. I'm a quick read. I'll just read it. And I was like, I'm not going to send you the book. Even if I was sending it out, I am so busy right now. I'm literally in a recording booth recording something for a thing that I just don't have time to like wait on pins and needles. I'll just change your name. And then she was like, all right, well, you can keep my name as long as you don't. And the name's like 6 things that like I was like, why on earth would I write a book about that? That has nothing to like. Why would I write a book about you? And it's just one of those people that's just like, well, I can't fathom everything not being about me. So I, and then I text Ali and I was like, of course. And he goes, honestly, I would just change your name. And I was like, he goes, just to like, I literally say she's my roommate, so I'll just use another roommate's name. So if any like litigation ever comes up, so then I was talking to this other girl, and she goes, well, what does your lawyer say? And I was like, I don't have a lawyer. And she goes, well, your publishing company. I was like, I'm doing it on my own. And she was like, oh, okay. Now I'm changing the names, right? But then yesterday I went into a spiral of like, I'm going to get fucking sued. And so I went through and I called my buddy who's a lawyer, and he was like, well, this is a thing that you would have called me about a year ago when you started writing the book. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, and I know you were hoping that I would just say, yeah, it's going to be fine. And he's like, and it probably will be, but there are some things you need to make sure. Like, so I did have a disclaimer. I'm changing the names and some characteristics. And I had a disclaimer in the front that I said that, but then I also made a joke and I read that to him. And he goes, yeah, take out the jokes, make it very professional, matter of fact, straightforward, that names are changed. These are just your experiences. This is a memoir. Dialogue was recreated from memory. Like, so I looked up all legal jargon to put it, because he's like, if you get sued, you're the judges don't have sense of humors. He's not going to, no judge is going to be like, oh, but you had a cute little line in there about, like, so I was just like, okay. So I had that, but then I went into this spiral about freaking out about getting sued. And like, the book's not bitter, because he was like, as long like libel and all, like, if you there defamation are the two things that you need to worry about. And the only, like, most of those cases don't see the inside of a courtroom. Three things: one, if I got sued, that means it's kind of a double-edged sword, because that mean, or double catch 22. No, I don't think it's any of those things, but it means the book was successful enough, and that's yay. So if I get sued, that means the book is a success, and that's very exciting, and I can afford a lawyer, right? I don't have anything for someone to sue me, right? um and but also, it's most of those cases don't see the light of day in court, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be proved, like, unequivocally. Like, it's, and then it's like, don't accuse anybody of committing a crime. My lawyer friend was like, well, you don't accuse anybody of sexual assault in there, because I understand what he's saying if the book is about dating. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, Whitney, who's read the book, was just like, you don't sound bitter. I don't The book is mostly about my insecurities and putting up with trash behavior, but not like that guy is a, like, the way it was described to me was, if it's true, you're pretty safe. Like, if you're like, my neighbor is a convicted axe murderer, and your neighbor is actually a convicted axe murderer, you're cool. But if you're like, my neighbor's so crazy, they're probably a convicted axe murderer, there's grounds to like open a case. So I got a little freaked out about that yesterday. I woke up, was really freaked out, was just like, and then I was like, oh my God, I got to change this name. I got to change that. I probably ought to change that. I got to change that. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I got to change everything. Don't even put out the book. And then I called my buddy who put out a book, Michael Malone, who I adore. He was the first Crawling Up episode. Get his book. I love it. It's called Dead Serious. He talked to me about how fucked up the formatting is going to be. And he offered to help, but he won't be able to help until Monday. And so I was like, I'll take a look at it. And if it's super fucked up and hard and I can't figure it out, then I'll get your help. I really appreciate it. But then, so yesterday, after all of that overwhelm, I completely panicked and just decided not to do it at all. Like, not the book, but just decided to just put the book down and just clean until I felt better. And then by the time I was done cleaning and cooking, it was like 9 p.m. I was exhausted, and I was like, you know what? And Malone gave me some really good advice. I'll leave you with this. Some more advice. I don't know if anyone gives a fuck, but these are just, I love learning little things like this in life, where it just can be like added to not just like writing a book, but really anything. He has a special, and he said the special had something wasn't great with it that he didn't like. I'm going to be really vague, because I don't know how much he wants me to tell about this, but like, he's a pretty open dude. But it just wasn't perfect, but like, he pushed it through anyway, because he had worked all this time on it and he had a deadline for himself. And the special's amazing. I was there for the taping, so you should go see it. Or you should watch it on Amazon. It's Laugh After Death. It's fucking amazing. He's like, personally and professionally, he's one of my heroes. but there was something missing that you won't know, but he knows, right? But because he had his date, which mine is like, I needed to say it's published on June 18th, 2021, because that's my birthday. Um, he was like, because I had that date and all this time I put into it to having that date, I just said fuck it on this thing that really hindered a lot of future other things that could have been done. So he's just like, take your time. It's okay. He's like, if people are breathing down your book to read, or read your down, breathing down your neck to read this book, that's good. They'll read it when it's good. Um, he also said that he had the same thing with his book where he had a specific date in mind, and he's like, let go of the date. It's not they Amazon's a nightmare. They're not going to honor that date no matter what. Like maybe you'll get lucky and it'll say that date, but they probably won't. So just let it go. Fucking let it go, right? So I was just like, that was such good advice. Just with anything, like just work, like pray to catch the bus, but run like hell. That's not the right. That I mean, that's good advice too. But let go. I did the hard part. I wrote the book. I wrote the book. I did the hard part, and I'm really proud of it. And I think it's really good. And I hope you buy it. I hope you read it. I hope you share it with people. I really, it's a lot about my journey. And the guy that I ended things with about a month ago, which is really sad. I haven't talked about it in the last couple of weeks, I don't think. I just never heard from him again. He said that he would talk it through. And then I asked some questions and just said, yo, I just deserve some answers. And he's an unavailable, avoidant person, and he's in the book. And I mean, what did he expect? He's broken my heart twice in the year I wrote a book about getting my heart broken. Of course, you're in the book, you dumbass. But like, that wasn't the point of all that. I don't know what I'm fucking saying, but I just let go of the results. I did the hard part. Did the labor of love. I'm really proud of this. Oh, what I was gonna say is at the end, it's like I'm still looking for love, but I don't put up with things that I wouldn't normally. Like there's a guy in our and my friends' life who there's a joke about how I'm in love with him. And yeah, I'm very attracted to him. And I know I'm attracted to him because he's kind of douchey. He drinks a lot and he's a little mean to me. And I'm like, Dad, you know what I mean? Like my dad issues have dad issues. And so like, but because of all the work I've done in the last year, I know that I can't think too much. Like I can accept that I'm attracted to that guy, but I do not have to act on it. So the point of that is there is a happy ending in the story that I have. I mean, I guess you've been listening to this the whole time. Another cool advice I got. So I'm going to be on a big Dash show promoting this. And my buddy, I called him just to catch up, and he was like, "Oh, you should be on the show." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Well, I don't really know him." And he goes, "I'll reach out to him." And so he was like, "Yeah," he said, "You could be on Monday." And I'm like, "Oh, should I do it when I don't?" And then he goes, "You should do it when you physically have the book." Cause this guy, his name's Zoe Williams. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. He has listeners, and he's like, yeah, he has so many listeners. And if he tells his listeners to buy something, they'll fucking buy it. And and so I was like, okay. So he goes, "You should have the book in hand when you go into the studio." And I was like, awesome. And he goes, "So just call him." And I'm like, "Oh, I call him?" And he goes, "Yeah, just call him." And this is a guy that like is like one of the most popular shows on Dash that has like 10 million downloads, like all that shit. And like to me, like career, like, authority figure. And I'm like, "Oh, I just call him." And my buddy's like, "Yeah, call him." This is my buddy that's always giving me my dear friend who's always giving me great career advice and just like believes in my career a lot. And it just really means a lot. He's like, "Yeah, just call him." I'm like, "Oh, should I do it now or should I wait a few days? Are you going to tell him I'm going to call?" And he goes, "Kim Kral, I'm going to hang up on you right now and then you're going to call him. Don't think about this stuff. Like, if you have an idea, just fucking do it. Don't let it marinate in your head so you can come up with all the reasons not to." And I was like, "Oh, God, that's really good advice. Really fucked up, scary advice, but it's good." So he hung up on me, not like in a shitty way. It was like, "All right, bye bye." Right. And then I just called Zoe and he answered and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "So just call me as soon as you have the book in hand. And the following Monday, we will dedicate a 2-hour show to your book." Who knows if I have no reason to believe that won't come to fruition, but I always, every time I say it on the radio, I'm like, just in case you guys, I have this big fear of everyone thinking I'm exaggerating because I live in a town where everybody lies about everything. I have a buddy that I've caught in, buddy, like a work acquaintance that I've caught in 6 lies this week where I'm like, Jesus. Like, so I just like, I always, you guys know me by now though. I'm I'm almost too authentic to a fucking fault. But so what am I saying? So I call him and yeah, so I'm hoping to publish today or tomorrow, and I'm hoping that pre-sale starts on Friday. I'm still debating on how long I want to do pre-sale, because the longer the more pre-sale you get, the more they if you get so if you want to buy a book, please buy it in pre-sale or the first week, because Amazon counts all pre-sale as your first weeks. And if you do really well in your first week orders, they fucking push the book more and get it out into more people, and then they get on lists and shit, and it'll just be better. So if you want to buy the book, which I hope you do, um it'll pre-sale will hopefully start Friday, if not Monday. If not, you know what, it's coming when it's coming, guys. I'm doing my best. We're all just adorable little works of progress. Okay. I think that's it. Next time you guys talk to me, I will be entering the last year of my 30s. I hope you guys really listen to that when I say that. Not the like, really hear me. It really broke my heart reading how many people spend their birthdays and their youth regretting and saying like, oh, I could have been doing this, or should have done that, or I regret that, or I fucked that up, or I'm not as far along as I want to be, like all of that stuff. Like, please hear me. And I know that, like, I spent years doing this, and it took me a lot of years of work to get me to not do that. But you deserve to not spend your life regretting shit that you didn't do. You deserve to spend your life not, wasting your youth calling yourself old. You're not old, and you've got plenty of time left wherever you are. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. But just reading that thread broke my fucking heart. And I know that it's just so relatable that we're just like, we're all doing the best we can. As long as you're being kind and grateful, just do your best, and just be nice to yourself, man. I'm one lucky broad that, like, I took a lot of years, maybe all 39. Maybe this is when I'm finally learning it. Last year I tried really hard. I was like, fake it till you make it. I think this is the first year that and it's easy for me to say I have a book coming out. I have a fucking book coming out, but like, it's not that. Like, I'm single. I'm recently, like, full on single. There's no prospects. I have no interest in dating. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like I'm still on unemployment. I'm still, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so, but it took me 39 years to get here, and I'm so grateful. I'm so fucking grateful that I now am not going to waste the next 39 years calling myself old or regretting things I didn't do. Instead, just being like, well, if you want to change something, and I'm really, really fucking grateful that I finally feel like I've learned that. And I don't know, I can't wait to see what's next. I feel like the next several months are going to be fucking wild. I just have a really good feeling about this book. So I'm really proud of it, and really proud of myself, dude. I don't think I It took me about 39 years to be able to say that too. So I'm one lucky broad that I'm there. Are you guys ready for your poop scoop? You ready for your poop scoop? Okay, so this guy, I don't even know if he's going to hear it yet, because this fella just started listening because he found me on YouTube. And so I need to fucking, oh no. Have I even been recording on? Oh, I did. Okay, good. Oh my God, I look like a mess. Hi, YouTube. If you see me, I look like a mess. So this guy found me on YouTube, and he's only been listening on YouTube. So he won't hear this for a while, but I also need to go back and email all the people that sent in the poop scoop. So if you want to send me a poop scoop story, which I would love, 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 KimKralspace@gmail.com, KYMKRALSPACE @gmail.com, KimKralspace@gmail.com. This guy said, hi. I have watched 12 episodes of your podcast on YouTube, and I have found them cathartic as we had similar childhoods. Oh, I love that. I hate that we both had fucked up childhoods, but I love that it's finding people that can relate to my experience, because for a long, long time I felt alone. I felt you might appreciate my poop scoop, although not in my pants. I was working in the field as a field service rep, turning power on and off for customers. I went into a backyard to disconnect the power of a house, And while in the backyard, I began to notice my tummy feeling unsettled. It came on so quickly. Why does it always come on so quickly? It came on so quickly that I thought I was about to poop my pants. I looked around for a porta potty as it was a remodel job. I was getting so nervous and had little time to find a safe place to go. So I dropped my pants and went in a flower bed in this yard. It was explosive and ended quickly. Thank God those end quickly. You know what I mean? Sometimes they linger, but at least like they just end. I was in full uniform too and worried someone might see me. So I jumped up and pulled up my pants and run out of the yard, leaving behind my shame. I had to return 2 days later to reconnect the power, and it was all clean. It was all cleaned up by some poor bastard who must have been hating me as the unknown assailant. Hope you find the humor in this sad tale. Dude, I do. Oh, it's so funny. It's like, I mean, like I don't know, I've certainly been there where it's like, do you clean it up? And it's like, well, you can't. And also, you're so ashamed that you're like, just get me the fuck out of there. You don't even think about the person who has to clean it up. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much. Please send me these stories. See, they don't have to be all pooping your pants. They could be almost pooping your pants. They can be sharding. They could be you pooping in a random place that's not a toilet. They could be a toilet poop. That's just any poop stuff. Please send them to me. Fuck, I love that shit. All right, guys. That's it. Please leave me a review. I'm gonna read a review. Please leave me a review. I'm gonna read a review in hopes that you will leave one too. It just helps get the podcast out there. Also, I'm almost out of reviews to read. So either we'll have more or you guys won't have to listen to this every week. But I like to read it just because I want the person to know how much it means to me. So this was written by JSMA 976. It says hilarious and genuine, 5 stars. Sometimes I open my mouth to respond to something Kim says, but I realize I'm not talking on the phone to this hilarious person. I'm listening to a podcast, but that's what it feels like. You're on the phone with a hilarious friend who tells a great story, make you laugh, and give amazing advice. Oh, thank you, JMS. I think I know who this is. I know who this is, but thank you. Yeah, if you get a chance, if you can leave it a comment or if you can subscribe, rate, review, share, all that good stuff. It all just means so much to me. And my book comes out very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Please support that. That would mean the world to me. This it's a dream come true, man. Dreams fucking come true, you know? So fucking rad. Just taking a moment. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're staying safe. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.